Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to all of you. I would like to welcome you to Willow Creek's first town hall meeting. I'm Michelle Stewart. I'm the principal here at Willow Creek, and I'm very excited as we venture into this new realm of technology. The reason that we are doing this live streaming right now is simply because we have become involved in a Marzano Level 1 certification quest, and we are looking for that information. And one of the things that we did, if you will recall, is we sent out surveys to all the parents. We also surveyed the students and we surveyed the staff. And one of the things that came out is that we didn't have enough communication with families. Not through lack of trying, but people are very busy. And so we thought that perhaps having questions or having meetings like this would help promote having more parents become informed about the kinds of things that we're doing here at Willow Creek. To that end, we are planning to have these meetings approximately 4 times a year. As I said, this is our first one. We hope to have one more before the end of the year. And again, our goal is to keep parents informed on what's going on. Now, we need your help for that. One of the things that we're asking for your help is to simply attend these town hall meetings and to ask any questions that you have. We are on YouTube, and we have the capability for you to put in your questions. Don't worry, your name will appear. We'll know who you are, and we'll be able then to answer your questions. And we'll do that at the end of the town hall meeting in the time remaining. So what we need then is the other thing that we need from you is some help in choosing topics. We've selected the topics for tonight, and we'll hear more from that. I want to thanks to my assistant principals, Mr. Doug Johnson and Mr. John Schlabowski, and to my Dean of Students, Josh Wissing, who have put together the technology of this and who will be tag teaming with me on this broadcast to be talking to you about some of the aspects that we came up with that we thought would be informative for you this evening. This is being recorded so that you will be able to see it later. If your neighbors say, "Oh, I missed it," you can let them know that it will be recorded for them to look at later on. In addition, we'll be sending out a survey so that you can tell us what topics you want to hear from. We'll be sending that out through Parent Square, and you'll have more information on that as we go along a little further. So, one thing that I do want to make note of is that many of you have already been made aware of, but just to reiterate it, and we'll say it a few more times before the end of the year, but Willow Creek will be having a different bell schedule beginning next year. We are going to be 1 hour different, 1 hour different. So our start time will be at 8:25, and we will get out at 3:30. So exactly 1 hour different. All bus routes will be different. Just again, that 1 hour different. So I want to thank you all for your attention. I hope you enjoy our live streaming. And next up, Mr. John.
Good evening. I am Doug Johnson, Assistant Principal here at Willow Creek Middle School. Thank you for joining us for our first ever live town hall meeting. I have been the Assistant Principal here at Willow Creek. Now this is my 12th year. Tonight I want to take a few moments to call your attention to our communication platform that we use here at Portage Township Schools and, of course, here at Willow Creek Middle School. Parent Square is our official communication platform for Portage Township Schools and Willow Creek Middle School. This allows us to ensure that you receive important calls, emails, and text messages from the district, the school, and your child's teachers. Parent Square also gives you the opportunity to easily communicate and interact with your child's teachers by signing up for an account. Hopefully on the screen we will display for you some tips, and there are 10 of them listed, but we are not going to go through all those. I just want to call attention to a couple of the important items. Tip number one, the first thing that you're going to want to do is activate your account. It's very possible that you received a text message today through Parent Square even though you haven't activated an account. So the system will still work for you, but there are some advantages to activating your account and installing an app on one of your devices. So tip number two is exactly that. You'll want to download the Parent Square app. Upon doing so, you will want to set your preferences. And tip number 6, if we skip along here a little bit, once you are logged in on the app, you can now comment or respond to posts that have been sent to you. You will now be interactive on Parent Square. And tip number 10 is you can get in touch by sending messages to WMS staff. So the big takeaway from this is Parent Square has a lot of advantages, and it becomes more of an advantage to you once you install the app because you can now become interactive. Music parents, you might be the most acquainted with Parent Square, as our music department under Mr. Bergholtz, Miss Franks, and Miss Christensen, they are currently our building leaders in posts and messages that are sent. So if you happen to be one of our music parents, you probably have already seen some of the positives of Parent Square. So please do get registered and get the app installed on your device. As far as athletics go, in addition to assistant principal, I am also the athletic director here, and we have been utilizing Parent Square here for athletics this year. It has been very valuable to us to alert parents about postponements for games, schedule changes, academic eligibility information, picture dates, and ordering information, as well as any COVID-19 spectator policies that have been common in the athletic world for the last 2 years. And we've also used Parent Square to communicate admission prices. So if you have yet to utilize Parent Square, please do so, as Willow Creek will become more reliant on this platform for our communication needs. Just as an example, something that we'll be able to do moving forward, for any field trips that we have, we'll be able to utilize an electronic permission slip. So that is just something that we can use moving forward, and we will continue to find more uses for Parent Square. The second topic that I have for you tonight, and this is especially for 7th grade parents, because what I want to talk about here and to share some information about are the Willow Creek classes that 8th graders can earn for high school credit. Our 8th grade parents, you're already aware of that, but for 7th to 8th grade parents, this will be valuable for you to understand for the 2022-23 school year. The following classes at Willow Creek can be taken for high school credit. The first one is offered to all 8th graders, and that is called Preparing for Colleges and Careers. This is a semester class that is taken during first semester. Again, that is for all 8th graders. Another class for high school credit is algebra. That is not available to all 8th graders. Algebra is only available to those students who are on the advanced math track. Biology is a third high school credit that you can earn here at Willow Creek as an 8th grader. However, a student must be in algebra to consider for biology. To explain that, not every algebra student would have biology, but to be in biology, you would have to be in algebra. And our 4th and final class for high school credit is Spanish 1. To be eligible to apply for this class, a student must have a C average or higher in 7th grade language arts and have no failing grades in all other current classes. There are a very limited number of seats available. This is a year-long class that would then serve as 2 related art spots for the student. If you are interested in applying, please call the main office or our office staff, as they will add your child's name to a potential list of students for Spanish 1. This opportunity to apply, however, does end on Thursday, March 17th. Thank you, and next up will be Mr. Schlabowski with some standardized test information.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Schlabowski, assistant principal here at Willow Creek Middle School. This is my 3rd year here at Willow Creek, and in addition to being assistant principal, I am also the testing coordinator for the school. So I'm going to give you some information about some of the standardized testing that we run here at Willow Creek Middle School. The first one is NWEA, what we call NWEA for short. I know that you all have heard the term NWEA get tossed around, and you have all heard that, okay, we are NWEA testing tomorrow. Make sure that your child comes to school. You have received reports in your email and via Parent Square with your child's NWEA reports, but you might be wondering what it all means. And that's part of what I am going to help you understand tonight in this town hall meeting. So thanks for tuning in. So what is NWEA and why is it important? NWEA is it is an acronym for the Northwest Evaluation Association. It's an assessment tool administered across the nation to give educators and parents valuable information about their children's needs, their academic needs. And we take it 3 times a year. So we already took it once in the fall. We took it in January, and we will take it again between May 2nd and May 20th. And the purpose of this is to get a sense of how our students grow throughout the year. So we test them at the beginning of the year to see where they are when they come, when they begin the school year. We test them in the middle to see how they're progressing academically, and then we test them at the end once more to see how far they've come in their grade level. So what are these scores used for? Scores 1 are used to help determine student placement in academic courses. So when we're looking at placement in, say, an advanced placement course or an honors course, one of the data points that we look at is a student's NWEA score. For example, if a child is getting good grades and straight A's in their academic courses, but then we look at their NWEA score and it's showing that they aren't performing, well, maybe an advanced placement class wouldn't be the best placement for them. It also helps us, those scores help us in planning what kind of course they're going to be in, maybe remedial courses, or maybe they are going to be in standard courses as well. So that's one thing that the NWEA score is used for. The NWEA score is also used to help determine student performance on high-stakes tests. So the ILEARN, which I'm going to be getting into in just a few moments, the ACT and the SAT, the child's score can be an indicator of how they're going to perform on all of these standardized tests. So, when your child is going to be taking the ACT or the SAT, the NWEA score for your child can often predict, or it attempts to predict, how they are going to perform on that high-stakes test. NWEA itself is not a high-stakes test. It is used just for us as educators and for you as parents to see how your child is doing and how we can better serve them in school. The third thing that they are used for is to help teachers make instructional decisions for students. So we have curriculum. Let's use 7th grade, for example. We have a 7th grade math curriculum that all the math teachers follow because it has the standards that the state of Indiana says that all 7th grade students need to be exposed to and need to master by the end of the school year. But NWEA can help show what other skills those students need before we get to those standards. So for example, if there's a standard that says students need to be able to solve story problems using algebraic equations, and then their NWEA test score shows that in solving algebraic equations, that student has a weakness, then the teacher will be able to help that student learn or practice algebraic equations and teach them what they need to know before they get to that 7th grade standard. So that's another thing that NWEA scores are used for. And the fourth and final thing they are used for is to inform parents of your child's progress and how you can supplement instruction at home. And that's a perfect segue leading into the next topic that I'm going to be talking about is the NWEA reports, the family report. You all should have gotten reports in Parent Square and in your email that show how your student has performed this round of NWEA testing. Now, some of you may be looking at that and finding it hard to decipher. Well, I'm going to pull up a report right here. We have a sample report for a fictional Shelley Jones, but all the information is right here. And I'm going to go through bit by bit so that you know what you're looking at when it comes to your child's report. Every subject in NWEA has two different components, two different scores. One of them is an achievement score, and the other one is a growth score. So if you look at mathematics on this report right here, and you look at the first column where that graph is, it says that there is low average achievement, 38th percentile. Percentiles are extremely important when you look at the score. I mean, it may show that your child scored, for example, here 204 or 212 on the NWEA report. You may be wondering, what does that mean? Well, the percentile is going to show you what that means. The 38th percentile means that this child scored better than 38% of all the students across the nation that took the NWEA test. Average percentile is the 50th percentile. So the closer your child is to the 50th percentile, the closer they are to the average score across the nation. So the higher the percentile, the higher they scored. When you get into the 80th percentile, for example, that means that that child scored higher than 80% of all the students who took this test across the nation. So that's how you look at a student's achievement. Now when you look at growth, which is the second column over here with those colored squares, if you look under mathematics for this report, you are going to see it says average growth, 55th percentile. That means that this child showed more growth than 55% of all the students across the nation. The most important thing here to take away from this is that you want your child to be growing, and you want your child to be achieving too, but you want your child to be growing. So this student, it says here, low average achievement. So they have low average achievement. They only scored as high or higher than 38% of the students across the country who took this test. But when you look at the growth, it says that this child showed average growth, which is good. This is what you want. As long as your child keeps growing and setting goals for themselves, that's the important thing. When you look at the other section of this report, for example, we look at reading, where it says reading here. Now you could see that this child has low achievement in reading. They scored low on the test. However, if you look at the growth column, it says they have average growth, which means they have been growing the way that they should, as much as the average student across the nation. So as long as this student keeps on track growing, then this student will be reaching the goals that we set forth for them as the years go on, as the year progresses. And then when you look at language usage, high achievement, 92nd percentile, they scored higher than 92% of all the kids across the nation in average growth. So they are still growing. The final thing that I'm going to discuss about these reports is I'm going to talk about the questions that are on the back of them, or on the second page of the report. Every single report that went home to families has an FAQ on the back. It has this section that looks just like this. It says, how can I use this information to help my child? Talk to your child's teacher. Here are some questions you can ask. What types of strategies are the teachers using that I may be able to reinforce at home? Does my child need extra help in any specific areas? How can I help my child's academic growth from home? How do you measure my child's learning in your classroom? When will my child's progress be measured again? And when can I get an update on my child's academic growth? How is my child doing in comparison to grade level expectations? And what will my child be working on to continue growing or grow towards a mastery of grade level standards? So, to help your child grow at home, don't be afraid to call and ask your child's respective teacher for that subject area any of these questions to help you help your child, as NWEA scores are created to do, are designed to do. All right, the last topic that I'm going to talk to you about is ILEARN, because ILEARN is coming up. The window starts April 18th, so in just over a month, we're going to be launching into ILEARN season. So what is ILEARN? ILEARN stands for Indiana Learning Evaluation Assessment Readiness Network. It's a state-mandated test that all students in Indiana are required to take. ILEARN is used for, 1, school accountability. So when you open up the newspaper at the start of each school year or at the end of the school year, and you see all of our scores or you see our grades in the newspaper, that's what these scores are used for. And then also to make instructional and placement decisions for students. So just like I told you with NWEA, when we look at what kind of courses and what level of courses to place students in, the ILEARN score is another data point that we look at. So we look at child's grades, discipline records, and we look at NWEA scores, and we look at their historic ILEARN scores as well. So the window opens April 18th. From April 18th to May 13th, we are going to be taking the ILEARN test. There will likely be 2 weeks out of that time that the whole school is testing, and then another 2 weeks designed for makeups for students who may have missed the test for any number of reasons. On those days, this I wanted to talk to you about because we operate on a 2-hour delay schedule on ILEARN days and NWEA testing days. Now, I bring this up because some of you have gotten confused. There's been some confusion in translation from when a kid comes home and talks to their parents and says, we have a 2-hour delay tomorrow because we're taking NWEA, or we have a 2-hour delay tomorrow because we're taking ILEARN. School still starts at the same time on these days, what this means is that the first 2 hours of the day, the kids aren't going to their classes. We are taking the ILEARN test for the first 2 hours of that day. Then the rest of the day, the kids continue to go to the rest of their classes. We just follow the schedule of a 2-hour delay. So if you hear 2-hour delay schedule because of ILEARN or because of NWEA from your child, rest assured that your child should still come to school, get plenty of sleep, have a fantastic breakfast, and come to school at normal time so that they are ready to conquer their NWEA testing and their ILEARN test as well. So that's all the information that I have for you tonight. Thanks for spending some time with us. We are now going to look at some questions and have a Q&A session with you all together.
Again, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. We know you have a lot of other things that are taking your attention, but we thank you for giving us this time. At this point in the meeting, we are looking to answer any questions. And so if you have any live questions for us, we'll stay open for a few more moments to see if any questions come up in the chat that we can answer for you. I can give you one more piece of advice, just a reminder that this is the last week of the third grading period. We are ending this week. Please do check your child's Power School. Please check Parent Square. Please make sure Schoology that you're looking at that to look for any missing assignments or anything that your child can work on to make sure that they're doing their best as we end this grading period. And then, of course, when we get back from spring break is next week. And as we get back from spring break, to start off strong on that last 9-week grading period that will take us through the end of May. So we will wait now if there are any questions. It looks as though we don't have any questions coming through, so we will be wrapping this up. A reminder to everyone that we will be doing this again in May, so be thinking about your questions. But of course, you don't need to wait for a town hall meeting. Please feel free to call anytime here at Willowcreek so that we can be of service to you. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.